Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 3 of Breaking into Cyber. My name's Andrew. Today we are going to dive deep into the world of cybersecurity, hacking, digital defense, and some of the industry's top experts. Today we have an incredible guest who's making waves in cybersecurity, Bailey Marshall. Bailey is a founder and principal consultant of the Security Rex, where she leads cybersecurity consulting, OSINT investigations, and penetration testing. She's also co-founder of Future Proof Security, working to educate and protect individuals and organizations from cyber threats, with an extensive background in cybersecurity engineering, digital forensics, and red teaming. Bailey's impressive career includes previous roles at Mandiant as a senior consultant, a director of innovation of program management at Applied Technology Academy, and an adjunct facility member at Southern New Hampshire University, where she mentors the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. She's also a U.S. Army veteran, bringing years of hands-on experience in cyber operations, threat intelligence, and red teaming. Beyond her technical experience, Bailey is a content creator and educator, sharing cybersecurity insights on platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and LinkedIn, which you can find her at The Security Rex. Whether she's teaching OSINT techniques, breaking down hacking concepts, or speaking on the latest cyber threats, she's a force in the industry. Today, we'll be diving into topics such as penetration testing, threat intelligence, digital forensics, and how she's helping make cybersecurity education more accessible for everyone. So grab your notepads. Beginning this episode is packed with insights that you don't want to miss. Bailey, we are so excited to have you on the channel. We are thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
Is it ever get like odd, like when you get to hear the list of accomplishments you've gotten to do and you're like, man, that's me. That's my story so far. Isn't that so crazy?
Yeah, it's actually really uncomfortable, to be honest, because I feel like I am not worthy of all of that, and yet I've done all of that. And I think imposter syndrome is a huge thing that a lot of us go through in the tech industry. But I used to let my age get like the best of me. I used to let my age kind of overshadow my accomplishments, where I was like, I'm only this age, I'm in my 30s. There's no way I have accomplished all of that stuff. I must be making something up. And I used to say that in places that I would talk, give public speeches and public speak to. I was like, I would always make jokes about my age. And I had someone come up to me recently and was like, don't do that. Like, don't make jokes about your age. And because, you're downplaying all of your accomplishments. And I was kind of offended at first, but then I was like, okay, like he makes a pretty good point, and I have accomplished all these things. So yeah, it is super weird to hear the play-by-play of everything that I've done. And so I just try to give myself grace and say, okay, like you did that, like go you.
No, that's 100%. And it's funny you say that. I was very lucky to actually get done on an interview with IT security, IT bearded dad. And same thing, he had to like read my little bio kind of before I did my chat with him. And it's just like, I totally know what you mean. Like I've been in the industry maybe just under 7 years. And it's just like, I'm still learning so much. And so it's like my first title when I got on with the state of Arizona, leaving law enforcement to get into cybersecurity, they gave me a senior information security analyst role. And I remember telling the SOC manager, I'm like, hey, this is like my first time in cybersecurity. Like, I don't even know how to navigate Splunk, navigate how to like an EDR. It's like, oh no, man, it's fine. Titles are just like for HR purposes. Like we'll teach you everything you need to know. And it's just like, that imposter syndrome is so real, and it's so much like you said in the industry, because people trying to break into cyber, I get this a lot from people I talk to, our mentor, like, oh man, dude, I looked at this role, but they're looking for X amount of years experience, or they're wanting X amount of knowledge in this specific tool. And I'm like, well, do you understand any of that tool? It's like, oh yeah, I understand it pretty well. I'm like, dude, then just apply. Like the worst they're gonna tell you is no. And if you don't even apply and if you don't ask, you're not going to get. So you're not even going to get told no. And sometimes I've heard stories that my colleagues or in my network, like, hey man, you know what? I actually applied. The recruiter called me and I got to talk a little bit and explain all my experience and what I knew about the tools, what I knew about what they were looking for. And they actually had me and they wanted me to talk to the manager. It's like, yeah, you know what? Like we know you don't fit to maybe on paper exactly what the rec's looking for, which I know sometimes a lot of time it's just a manager telling a HR recruiter like, hey, we need this, this, and this. Just write something up for us and then bring us applicants. And then you'll see like entry-level role, CISSP, OSCP, 10 years, doctorate degree. And it's like, that's not an entry-level role. It's not.
Yeah. I am prior military, and so I did 6.5 years active duty Army. I was both Signal, which for anybody that doesn't know, it's IT, and then I was cybersecurity, which translates to cybersecurity. But I was that for 6.5 years. I got out, I got into the Army right after college. So I got a bachelor's degree, went into the Army, did 6.5 years. And then I got out. I had a master's degree at the time as well, but I only had 6.5 years in the industry. And I applied for this job at Mandiant, and it was a senior consultant. I was like, I meet 70% of the qualifications. Great. Like, I will apply. Because I was young and naive and I didn't know, but I ended up inevitably getting the job. And the big thing that, for me, it was the fact that I didn't have as much experience, but I had a master's degree. And I'm not saying go out and get a master's degree in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
It's just, you don't realize the things that people are looking at when you go in and you apply for jobs, because maybe that little bit of thing that you did, or that extra certification, or that project that you posted online, like that's the thing that people are like, oh, they might not have the years of experience, but they've clearly got the chops for this. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was really weird because I was like, I am no senior whatsoever. Like, I do not deserve that, but like, thank you.
No, and that's so cool, and it's actually kind of a great kind of maybe like a steer question to get into too. So like cybersecurity is not really meant, or a lot of people don't grow up like thinking they're going to jump into a career in cybersecurity. Like I know myself, I thought I wanted to be a firefighter, then I wanted to be a police officer. I ended up becoming a police officer. But was there any kind of specific moment or time that you kind of knew or realized that this was kind of the field you wanted to dedicate yourself into?
Yeah, so I could give you some, Cinderella story about how I grew up and I wanted to be cyber and I just like beat all the odds and stuff. But really, honestly, I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, where there was just like unfettered access to the internet. You could do whatever you want. Computers were like the thing that you got at Christmas because it was the cool new thing, right? And so I grew up online gaming a lot, and so Neopets was like my favorite thing.
Oh
And I
man.
have like a Neopets sweatshirt. Like they even like gave me a shout out on Instagram the other day because I was rocking it with the security Rex.
That's awesome.
But I always say like my hacker origin story was the fact that I played Neopets and I would socially engineer my friends into giving me their passwords. And I would like look over their shoulders. And what I would do is I'd go into their accounts, change their passwords so they couldn't get back in, and then steal all their stuff and then send it to my account. Like what a dirty little
Oh my gosh, that's
like
so funny.
so that's horrible. But then, in the early 2000s as well, you had a lot of opportunity to like learn web design and stuff because everybody was using like HTML and CSS. There wasn't like all of this cool Java and WordPress and, all of the things that you can do on your website now. Everything was straight like line coding. So I learned a lot of that. And while that's not directly translated to security, I learned a lot of the back end stuff of like what that actually looks like when you're developing stuff on the front, what people are seeing. But I didn't think anything of it. I kind of grew up, that was my, early childhood. I grew up, I was a teenager and stereotypical teenage girl, like thought I was going to do something, lavish and glamorous with my life, and ended up going to college and thinking I was going to be a doctor and failed biology. Honestly, like I failed biology. I got a C in chemistry. I failed a semester in college actually. And it really got me thinking like, oh, dang, I probably shouldn't be a doctor because I'm not that smart. So I switched my major to psychology because it was the easy degree because it's technically a liberal arts degree. And I knew that I was going to go into the Army because I applied and got an Army ROTC scholarship. So
Awesome.
I was doing that. Yeah. And it was a great opportunity. And I wanted to do intelligence actually when I was going into the military because I had not only a psychology degree because I love, human mind, social engineer, they all go together, right? But I also was, I had taken German in college or German in high school, was taking Russian in college. So I thought, oh, I could be a linguist. I could do all of these other cool things. And the Army said, nope, you're going to be in IT. And I was like, that was the last thing I wanted to do. And so I cried. I cried the day that, the Army branched me into IT, which was like all of the networking stuff. I was so upset because I was like, I don't want to do anything with radios and computers, but I am kind of, a trooper. And so I took everything with a grain of salt and got a Security Plus voucher because it was given to me. And I'm like, I'm going to be darned if I don't pass this. Like, I just am that kind of stubborn personality. And so I did. And, I studied really, really hard for 30 days, passed it. And I was like, security stuff's kind of cool. So anyways, my Army career transition. I got to do some really cool offensive security stuff with some special units, and then it kind of just snowballed into that. And I realized that I really liked the offensive security stuff and related it back to my time growing up. And I was like, yeah, okay, I can dig this. And kind of the cards fell into place at that point. And so here I am now.
That's awesome. I have like 3 talking points. One, I'm going to say one word that you're 100% going to understand. Also being like a 90s, 2000s, LimeWire. And that's my, and that was my first experience of like getting to do like, why did my brother get our computer infected? Let's go to see what got downloaded last. Oh, this Coheed and Cambria CD has a weird file name. This shouldn't be here. So getting my feed in mostly to deco aspects of like, I always joke that was like my first chance getting to do like log analysis of like, oh yeah, my brother downloaded this weird file from LimeWire and it kind of like almost bricked our computer. So we had to boot it into safe mode and kind of figure out and like uninstall everything that he did. And it was super funny. Second one, thank you so much for your service. That's so cool. I was going to ask if you were enlisted or an officer, but hearing that you did ROTC, so very cool. Oh man, I had another question. I think it's also funny that you went from stealing passwords, like to maybe jokingly saying resetting passwords, going to IT when they put you in the army. But that's so cool. And I think it's exactly like you said, like one thing, like when you said like how you failed a whole semester of college, when it comes to IT and cyber even, and I'm sure you can correlate to this, there's so many different ways and paths of getting into this industry. And some people think like, oh, I have to get a degree. I have to get these certifications. And that's where my next third thought came from. Is Security Plus is like the gateway. I always call it the gateway cert into cyber security. Yeah. So it's just like you always hear people like, what should I do to get into like defense or cyber? I'm like, get Cyber Plus. You learn acronyms, you learn like all the abbreviations, you'll learn like a basic baseline of like what is a password spray, what is a DDoS attack, what is all these other things you have to defend yourself against. And I think that's actually very cool. And that's so funny that Neopets was like, yeah, Neopets is how I got into cyber. I'm like, that's not what I took away when you said that, but I'm like, that's so cool. And 100% probably like, you know what? That's how I got my, because yeah, Neopets was all online, 90s and 2000s. Like you said, the internet was so kind of really just loose and kind of really free to get into. There was no automation. There was no AI. It was, hey, I'm going to make this website from scratch, from start to finish. And there's no cool prompt you can type into Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT to do it for you. This was, hey, you had to kind of figure it out on your own and kind of knock everything out. So all by brute force and sheer willpower. What do you think are some of maybe the misconceptions that people don't really understand when it comes into like getting into a cybersecurity degree or career? Like, what do you think? Like, there's some things that you think you could clear up that would like make people understand, like, hey, getting into cybersecurity is not as complex as you think.
Yeah. So, I mean, going back, I have a psychology degree. That was my beginning. So I didn't have a security background. Now, my master's degree was in information assurance and security, but I mean, it was a master's degree. It was literally just a degree to teach you how to write papers. We did do some really deep malware forensics, which made me hate IDA Pro. Never again. Like, bleh. Never want to be a reverse engineer.
Amen.
But honestly, there's no real answer. I mean, I think I did a quick video on this the other day. There's no real good advice for anybody trying to get into the industry because everybody's experience is different. Yeah. For example, my big thing is I am hacking, open source intelligence. Like I embody a hacker, right? I don't have my OSCP. I didn't have any OffSec certifications until a couple of months ago. And I got my OSDA so that I could teach at Black Hat. And I got my OSWP because I had an extra voucher. But the thing is, like people say, you have to do this, this, and this. Well, not really. My first pen testing gig out of the military was because of video content that I had posted on YouTube. Someone saw it and was like, hey, like, this is really cool. You're very good at this. There's probably a little bit of rusty stuff we can get you caught up on. But like, we'd like to have you on the team. And I was like, heck yeah. Like, and that was just from putting myself out there, but I didn't apply to those things. It was just kind of, building a digital portfolio and saying, so to give a little context, and I talk about this a lot, when I left the military, I was in a defensive position at the time. So really the location that I was looking to stay, there were only defensive positions as well. Yeah. So I really could only apply for defensive positions. But if people if you don't know this by now, there is a big kind of red tape put around defensive and offensive security, where if you're in one, people don't want you in the other. They want to keep putting you in the box that you are currently in. And I didn't want to be that, because I knew my chops, I knew my skills in offensive security. And so I just keep like, I'm going to take this defensive role. I'm going to learn a lot from it, but I'm just going to keep going in what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at. And so, that's why I kept putting stuff out there on YouTube and putting content out there, because that's what I wanted to do. And I kind of, bullied my way back into the offensive security world. So there's no great one path. Everybody's path is different. My experience, if I were to give that to you as a mentor, is just, understand that it's okay that your expectations are not the same as someone else's. I think people are really hard on themselves because they don't see them, and myself included, I'm bad about it too. They don't see themselves doing the same thing that other people are doing. And so they're like, well, I must be failing, must not be doing the right thing.
Yeah, you can't compare yourself. Like, I have mentors and stuff too. And like, I looked at them like, oh man, they have 10 SAN certs, they have CISSP. And it's like, man, I don't have those yet. Like, I'm not up to par. I'm behind the game. Like, I need to catch up. And just like you said, that's not the case. Like, everyone goes and does their journey at their own pace. And I think you're 100% nail on the head that once you get into a field, it's like you're almost like put into a room or a box. Like, hey, you're blue team deco, you stay in the blue team deco box. Oh, you're offensive, you go to the red team box. And there's a lot of things that me and a lot of people in the industry have talked about, and I emphasize this and echo it. A good red teamer knows the deco portion. A good blue teamer or deco person knows the offensive side of it. Because if I'm a blue teamer and I don't understand or see, like, hey, how do I look at maybe like a password spray? Like, how am I supposed to know that's going on if I've never seen it before? And if I know what that looks like, I can say, oh wait, this is irregular behavior. This is all these initial. Also, you're going to get a ton of alerts on your sim because you're going to get if everything's ruled and tuned correctly. But vice versa, if you're through a red team, if you're going to do a specific attack, you want to have the same knowledge. Like, hey, if I do said malicious act, how can I like hide this from the blue team? Because I know it's going to cause this type of detection. Do I need to space out my attempts? Do I need to mask this? Do I need to create some type of new like show or command, or maybe if I'm already on the system, make like a process and just live off the land and then have that run every 10, 15 minutes so it just looks like a normal process. And I think that's a lot of people, they think about like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, because if you know how to do the attack and you know how to defend against it, you can technically wear both hats. But people look at red team and it's like, I have to have Pentest Plus, I have to have the OSCP, I have to be a hacking guru. I'm like, you can learn it. Most of the time you'll be able to learn it. It's going to take time. A lot of people think, and I tell my story of like same thing. My initial degree was in criminal justice with a certificate in Homeland Security. I was not a cyber degree. I went to become a cop. I did that for 7 years. I left as a detective. I came out of that into IT, and I worked at the state of Arizona for a little bit. And my director said something that really made me kind of like learn, though I was kind of becoming in the right place. He's like, Andy, cops make the best analysts. I'm like, well, why is that? He's like, you guys are standardized and systematic. You guys know how to break down and write a report, because you have to write it down to a judge who has a doctorate degree or a law degree. But then you also have to write it to a jury of 12 that they may have GEDs or not even a degree at all. And you have to break it down to the highest level and lowest level to explain an event that happened. And you hit your 5 W's, you hit your story. You're pretty much telling a short story. And then at the end of it, at least for whenever you now get to your organization, their end all be all is, hey, is this malicious or not malicious? If it's not malicious, can we tune this out? Can we create an exclusion? If this is malicious, okay, well, now do we need to escalate this? Do we need to send up the IR? Do we need to pull in like our purple team to deconflict this? Is this just a red team activity we have Bailey coming on that we hired on through Security Rex to do a pen test on the organization? Like, hey, good job, blue team, you caught it, but this is sanctioned activity. We're doing a test right now, but good catch. And so that stuff's super important. And I think, like you said, like just like getting put into those separate rooms, I think that's something that the tape needs to come down and people need to understand. Like you can wear both hats. You just have to have like the willingness to, in a sense, kind of just either learn it or be willing to learn it.
Yeah. I always promote the purple team mindset over everything, because we all want to do, everybody's got their own bias, right? I want to be on the red team because it's the cool thing. I want to be on the blue team because it's the cool thing. Whatever your bias is, right? Whatever you want to do, that is okay to have that bias. You can want to do that. But holistically speaking, everybody's security posture is better when you think about it in all of the ways that you could, rather than just blue team, red team, GRC. They all have a hand to play. So
No,
that's just my 2 cents.
no, and that's a great 2 cents I'd like to have and kind of keep, like I said, echoing. Like the biggest thing about this, my series Breaking into Cyber, is everything we're hitting on. There's not a single path. There's not a one way fix all. There's not a this is the path you must take in order to get into cybersecurity. There's so many different avenues and so many different approaches that I know people that I have a great friend of mine, and his handle is Zerde, and he got into like C++ and like Golang and Rust like back in high school, and he ended up dropping out, getting a GED. He is now working, I think, at one of the defense contractors, either I think it's like Deloitte or one of the other named organizations, making six figures, has a GitHub and a bunch of other projects he's done, and pretty much he is known just for all the hard work he's done on the back end. And he was able to show that to a recruiter and like, hey, look, we're going to talk to the manager. Obviously you don't meet the educational, he doesn't have a degree. It's all just experience and stuff of doing it on his own. And he's super successful getting to do his own thing. And it's just, he put in the time and effort to learn it. And I use his story a lot because he also pushed me to get into cybersecurity. But he told me, he's like, you have the military, go to school, get your degree. It'll be so much easier for you to get through he called it the HR algorithm, to like make sure you hit all the boxes for the little checkbox and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, I tell him like, hey dude, you helped me get into this industry a little bit, but I share your story with people that say like, what? I don't understand IT or cyber. I don't know how to code. I'm like, you can get into cyber without coding. It's not a mandatory thing, but it just helps to understand it. But I mean, like if you just put time and effort in taking 30 minutes a day and like finding something you're in any of the platforms you can kind of learn on, try Hack Me, Hack the Box, over Under the Wire. There's so many, VulnHub, and you find something that you can get into and then just start practicing. There's so many write-ups. There's YouTube videos. I mean, do you have maybe like a favored, when you were kind of practicing, getting into honing your skills, was there a site you kind of like to go to that you like to kind of like do self-training on?
Yeah, no, not really. And I'll tell you the reason why, because the work that I had already in the military sufficed for the training that
Awesome.
I needed, right? So
this is not a recruiting video, just so everyone knows. If you join the military, awesome. But if you do, go Army. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. So just to go on to that, a lot of people ask me, oh, well, would you recommend the military? And I'm like, yes and no. Is it a great path? Yeah, absolutely. It helps you break some barriers. It is not for everyone.
Yep.
So just
Agreed.
just understand that it's a culture, and just like any other business is. So aside from that, again, everybody's path is different. But my path just happened to include the military, and that was my training. Have I been on Hack the Box and Try Hack Me? Yeah. Have I really used it too much? No, not so much. And that's just because at the point where I already had the skills, I decided to do my own thing. Like I really love wireless pen testing. And so I have like Bluetooth locks and Ubertooths and Alpha cards and just spare laptops and stuff where I will just go do it. And I guess that's kind of the equivalent of like my home lab. And I always hate when people say you should build a home lab. It's the best thing to get into cyber. I hate that. I absolutely hate that, because when you say build a home lab, people tend to imply it as, well, build it from scratch so you understand the basis of the network and the system. And I didn't have any of that. I skipped the net plus and went directly into security.
Yep,
are those
same.
things that are helpful? Yeah, but I picked those up along the way. Like I didn't understand perfectly what subnetting was when I took my security plus, but I kind of backfilled it where I didn't understand it, as I was going through my work roles. So, to your question, did I have a favorite platform or even people that I watched or anything? No, not really. I kind of just did what I felt like I wanted to do. And that didn't include platforms. It didn't really include watching anybody on YouTube. Honestly, there are more people that I watch on YouTube now and watch, do things on their repos than I did when I was first getting into security. And I think maybe that's because I had my head so far into doing my own thing that I kind of just didn't care about what other people were doing. I think now it's a little different because I'm not competing against anybody that's a content creator, but I'm trying to get ideas and see what other people are doing and see what interests people in the audience. So that way I can curate what I'm doing to them, because it's almost like another 9 to 5. So it's different now,
Definitely.
and it's a community thing rather than watching to learn from people now. So
Well, and I guess this actually bleeds into another great question I kind of wanted to ask. So like, so the security Rex, the creating that site, which has, if you've never been to it, you need to please. It's on her LinkedIn. I'm going to drop all the links and stuff as well below at the end of this as well. But there's cheat sheets, there's Nmap, there's, I think, PowerShows, I think how to use a phishing kit or social engineering kit. What were you most excited for putting that site together? And maybe what were you kind of most nervous for?
when I put together the security Rex, it's been about 2.5 years now. I was kind of just doing the like Hail Mary yeet of what I wanted to be, because I was getting out of the military at that point. So I had no idea of who Bailey Marshall actually was. I was, Captain Marshall when I left the Army. And I was like, I don't know myself other than that. So it was recommended to me by a peer and someone that I trust. Hey, start an LLC, do these things and just, roll with it and see where it goes. And I was like, okay, like I can do that because, but I don't know what it's going to look like. But then I realized that the business side of things I wasn't going to go out and be a consultant like right off the bat and make millions of dollars out of the military. But what I found that I really liked was like helping people and educating people. And I was building Nmap cheat sheets because I needed them, because I was trying to do my own thing and get my name out there and say, hey, I am in this defensive role, but I'm a good pen tester, so you should hire me. And I'm creating these cheat sheets for myself so that I can have them quick and handy. So here you go. And so some of that stuff is from 2.5 years ago and probably needs to be updated, but a lot of it is really relevant to people just getting into the industry like I was. And while I still had 6.5 years experience in the military, I still saw myself as getting into the industry because it's completely different from the, public sector versus private sector. And so when I built the security Rex, it was kind of like I don't know what this is, but here we go. And then I found a lot of value in helping others kind of navigate, because people were looking at me like, what are you doing? Like you're at, you're just this job, or you're putting this content out, like surely you're doing something right. And I was like, I don't know, but let me just let me just give you what I have done, and maybe that helps. And a lot of people were coming back and they were like, that is so helpful. I'm like, whoa, like my mind was blown. I was like, how is my journey helpful to you? Because I feel like I've gone nowhere, and I feel like a baby in the industry, but I realized that it was. And so I just continued to do that. And now that I'm a little bit more mature in where I'm at and making it more of a full time as, content creation and stuff, my reasons for creating the security Rex have shifted, and also my priorities as well, because I have found that the IT sector is kind of dry and it's a little boring. So now that I'm, trying to do short form content where I'm making things fun and exciting and interesting and funny to people that are maybe not in the IT industry, maybe are interested in it, or maybe just want a good laugh, maybe just want to learn something. So I don't know, it's kind of shifted, but I've still got that core of like, I just want to help people and I want to, be a part of their journey. And that might not mean anything like monetarily for me. And that's fine, because I know how lost I felt when I was in that position. So I
Yeah.
just want to help people get out of that.
Yeah, and Tyler Ramsby, I just did a video with him last week, and he puts out all of his content for free. He's been offered like sponsorships. He's like, no, because like when you, and I saw his last video for the Try Hack Me just released their like Try Hack Me, I think like level 1 security analyst certification. He's like, yeah, they reached out to me to do a sponsorship. I said no, because when I don't do a sponsorship, I can say whatever I want. I'm like, my man Tyler. I'm like, and it's just like, you're 100% right though. Like trying to navigate into, depending on if you're trying to break into the career, whether you're doing a career change, whether you just don't know what you want to do yet, you look at cybersecurity and there's so many different avenues. There's GRC, there's compliance, there's
Mhm.
audit, there's red team, there's blue team, there's risk assessment, there's vulnerability scanning. You can get into so many different teams, like depending on how large your organization is. And it's just like, you don't know where to start. I've had a lot of young high schoolers. I try to stay very active in my community here in Arizona. I go talk at high schools. We just had Cactus Con, which is a small little like IT fun little tech conference here in
Mhm.
Arizona. We do
Mhm.
every February. I think they're on year 7. And I spent most of my time, I did a lot of volunteering in the career village. I was doing resume reviews, mock interviews, and just talking to high schoolers and college kids. And they're so excited. They're passionate. Their resumes are so amazingly like just GitHub repositories and projects they're doing. And they're like, yeah, I don't know how to make my resume. It just seems so weak. I'm like, dude, their resumes were solid. I'm like, man,
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
good.
they showed me like their web projects and like things they've been doing. I'm like, you are doing everything right. And I'm like, if no one's told you that yet, you just need to keep doing this and stay positive. One, because you're still in school. So I mean, just focus on school. That's your priority right now. Knock out college, but keep up with your repositories. Keep up with keeping these up to date. Um, and just keep learning. Like that's one thing. Like in 2 to 3 years, and you'll know this, and I know this. Like there's so much that's changed in the last 3 to 5 years alone. When I initially first even got in, that I'm now doing now. Where I'm like, man, back 5 years ago, what I was doing is almost irrelevant now. Like I'm on a completely different kind of like the way I do my analysis and my investigations. Like I'm using new tools, new processes, and it's just
Mhm.
things change so quick within this industry. I mean, you be ready to be a continuous learner, because that's one thing I do like about this, and I do love just constantly learning. Same thing. I was lucky enough to leverage my military time to get my master's degree, and they got to pay for it. And I also dabbled once I got done with my criminal justice degree. Had to play a little bit of catch up, trying to, now that I wanted to do my career change. I'm like, well, like I should probably have a degree that matches the passion I want to do. So I got my degree in cybersecurity, because getting through the HR algorithm, I'm like, I had so many interviews where it's like, so you're a cop and you have a criminal justice degree, but you want to be a security analyst. Why? I'm like, I want to get into IT. And it's just like, it was such a weird conversation to have, but it's just like, I had the passion for it. I was doing hack me, hack the box. I was blowing up my LinkedIn with like things I was doing with accomplishments, trying to get recruiters' attention, saying, look at me for this entry level position. I'm doing so
Mhm.
much. And there's so much rejection that comes in when it comes to like people, they've done videos and shorts like, I have had an Excel sheet I've been tracking for the last 3 months of all the places I've applied, and I got 3,000 applications and I've received 3,000 rejection emails. I'm like, oh man, that sucks. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's the industry right now is saturated as it is. There's still very much growth happening, but I try to explain to people that are getting into this industry, I'm like, you need to be the best candidate when you're applying for these roles. And when you make it to that interview, be passionate, be humble, do your research, understand the tools you'll need to do. That way, let's say maybe there's a group you're trying to get into that does Splunk. Hey, jump on Splunk's website. They have tons of free training you can do to start leveraging that maybe intelligence gap that you're missing, that you're then be able to talk to on that resume or on that interview. And then same thing when you're talking, like, why are you the best candidate for the role? Like sell yourself. Hey, you know what? You're having X problems. I'm here to solve those. I'm a go-getter. I don't have any bet. I used one phrase that actually got me a good interview that made me get to the next round. I ended up not getting the position, but when I asked for feedback, they're like, you know what? One thing the manager really liked that you said is, due to you not being in cybersecurity, you had no bad habits, and that you could pretty much be taught. And it's kind of funny because like in the police force, when I was going through like my firearms training, they're like, yeah, who here has shot a gun before? And people raise their hand. Like, right, who here hasn't? And then they say this in the military too. I think like those that haven't ever shot before, they have no bad habits. So when they're learning and
Mhm.
doing this for the
Mhm.
first time, that's their first time learning a concept or learning a technique or learning something where, if I already know a bad technique or a bad tactic, I may be using that still, where it's like, hey, stop doing that, stop doing that. And it's just like, oh man, it's muscle memory. I'm so used to it. So I would always jokingly like, well, the good thing is with me getting into this industry, like I'm brand new. I'm just here to learn, absorb, and you guys get to teach me the way you want me to be an analyst. And it
Yeah.
works. It worked a little bit. And I mean, I eventually got my job at the state. So I mean, obviously it eventually hit the right ears, and like, you know what? I like this guy. He's willing to learn. He's here they gave me a chance, which I was very blessed at the state to get into that senior role as a junior analyst into the industry, and just being humble and being if I made a mistake, I owned up to it. I learned from it. I trained myself up on anything I learned new. I was taking copious amounts of notes, asking tons of questions. The team was so solid, and I guess full cycle where I'm getting at is just like, yeah, breaking into cyber is hard, but it's just like, if you have the mentality to just continuously try and really put yourself forward into it, it's 100%, it's 100% reachable for those goals.
Yeah, there's always two things that I tell people, and this applies to any industry, any job that you're applying for. The first thing that you kind of hit on was owning up to like what you don't know, your mistakes, whatever. When I was getting the incident response consultant position at Mandiant, one of the things in my feedback from my manager at the, he did my interview, and then later we had a discussion on, what I did good, whatever. He said, "Hey, when I asked you that question and you told me you didn't know, I really liked that you told me you didn't know, because when I said it, I phrased it in a way it was like, I'm not really quite sure, but I know how to get that answer to you. So I would have to follow up with you, but I can definitely get that for you."
Yep.
And he loved that. He was like, "I don't want someone to know everything, because if you tell me you know everything, I know you're being disingenuous, because nobody knows
Yep.
everything." And then the second thing is, if ever there is a time where an interviewer or some sort of application asks you if there's anything else you'd like to know or any questions you'd like to ask of them, always put something.
Yep.
Because if it's, phrased into, is there anything else you'd like me to know about you and why we should hire you? That's your final time to do that mic drop, this is why, because a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't follow
Yeah.
up and say, well, here's this extended part about me and why I want this job and why I think I'd be good at it. That really leaves an impression on people. So I know that kind of goes into any industry, but like those are huge for people trying to get in.
That's actually those are valid points, and a great one I've used on questions. Like, do you have any questions before you leave or anything you'd like to ask us? I will ask the question, which is exactly like you said, like to get, like, you can kind of get like a immediate kind of feedback or that last minute. Oh, I'll say, hey, was there anything on my resume that was missing, or maybe that you didn't get enough information on? And then they'll say, oh yeah, like, you know what, like we didn't really see enough like coding experience, or like you doing log analysis. I'm like, oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. And then I can say, oh, I have a repository, or I've actually done a lot of stuff with EDR name. And it gives me that last little minute rebuttal, like, oh, well, I wouldn't have known if I didn't ask, if you guys thought there was something lacking in my resume. But it's usually they're like, oh yeah, we missed this, or we didn't really see a lot of this. It gives you that last Hail Mary to say, oh, you know what? If you do have that experience, you can say, oh, you actually, just so you know, like I am actually familiar in that topic or said piece of things you're looking for. And if not, say, hey, I understand I could be lacking that or maybe missing that. However, I know a lot of resources I can go find and start doing some research that I know would still very much benefit this team, and kind of start diving into that future training and learning, saying, okay, well, he just told us that he maybe doesn't have it, but now he's already going to start looking into understanding that coding language, or maybe that kind of like analysis process that we're asking for, which I think is
Yeah.
huge.
I love that. I'm going to start telling people that too. That's a good thing to have in your arsenal. And I mean, if you have all of those things mentally prepared, and they say the worst they can say is no, but you feel confident walking away. And if they say no, you feel confident going into the next one.
I think I only have a few more questions for you, Bailey, and then it's going to be some just kind of game questions, because I know you mentioned that you used to play games when you were younger, and I'm curious what games you're kind of playing now. So, do you when you're? I know you said you really enjoy doing, I think, like wireless penetration testing, correct? What kind of spawned or kind of got you into that specifically,
That's
compared to like web application, or like brute forcing? Like what kind of spanned that interest, particularly when it comes to penetration testing?
Yeah. So I actually got to do a really cool course in the military, which I won't dive into, but a lot of it had to do with wireless. And so someone that I had kind of seen as a mentor for a while now, Pat Wiley, he runs Green Hat Solutions in North Carolina. He is like a huge wireless guy, like big wireless. And immediately when we just clicked. And I was like, I love what you're doing. And he's like, you're really good at it. And then we just kept going back and forth where he's like, try this, do this. And I was like, I love this. And so I think the really cool thing about wireless is the fact that with pen tests, everything is so, I don't know, it's just rigorous, right? It's like A, B, and C, do these things in this order,
Yeah.
report on it. And the thing I like about wireless is, for one, it's not really common, I'll say. You don't go into Bank of America and say, let me do a wireless pen test, you know? But the people that are doing wireless hacking, wireless pen tests, whatever, they're usually doing something really cool with that, whether it be like something tactical. I've been in like law enforcement compounds doing some really cool, just like seeing how frequencies bounce off things and taking like, you know, dishes and seeing where I can, you know, triangulate certain signals and stuff. And so honestly, to me, I think it's the tactical is the military word, but I think it's the kinesthetic aspect of it rather than just sitting down at your computer and droning away at a web app pen test, which I do enjoy, but it
Yeah.
does get
All right.
boring and
Time to run the Nmap
methodical.
scan. I'll be back in 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I wonder what Burp Suite came up with this time. But the wireless part is just the reasons why you're doing it, the things that are being done with it is very cool and really interesting. And Bluetooth, you know, Wi-Fi, all of those different wireless frequencies, they're everywhere. Like, I'm sure you could look at your desk right now and list off at least a couple of things that use like Bluetooth
Ah.
capabilities right now. Like, I have, you know, a wireless mic here, that's Bluetooth. And so like it's everywhere, and you don't realize how much stuff you actually have that is susceptible to be cracked. And you know, there's some argument about like, well, what can you really do if your phone's hacked into or whatever? But I mean, there's everybody's going to have their opinion about that. I
Yeah.
just think it's really cool, and I think it's a little bit more challenging. So that's why I like wireless. That's kind of my go-to like favorite thing.
Cool. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite tool? I guess would be like a follow-up question to that, like that you like to use when it comes to pen
Oh,
testing. Like what's your like if like someone's like, hey, we have our tool SME, subject matter expert. What would you say yours is?
yeah. So I like Bluetooth. This is an Uber tooth. I have 3
Ooh.
of these. I am just now trying to, and I just pulled this out of my box of like stuff that I have right here. So Uber tooths are the coolest thing because they are for Bluetooth hacking. What I'm doing is doing a proof of concept right now for a master lock. So like one of the ones that you would hook on your gate. I have I'm not sure the make, the model of the other one that I've cracked. But I'm trying a different make and model of one where I'm essentially, I'll give you kind of like the really quick spiel of how you can technically do it.
Cool.
You take, you know, 3 Uber tooths because Bluetooth is on a frequency hop. And so you need to have the ability to capture multiple channels at once. And so what you do is you capture parts of a handshake that are crossing those, you know, 3 different Uber tooths. If you only do one, you'll only capture, you know, if there's 4 pieces of handshake, because it's a 3-way handshake and there's 4 like packets that you would find
Yep.
on Wireshark. If you only have 1 Uber tooth, you're only going to capture maybe 1, 2 of those packets, maybe, but you got to have 3 in order to do a replay, in order to actually successfully send that to whatever you're trying to crack. So you take 3 Uber tooths and make sure that you're able to capture every single channel that you can possibly do to, maximize your chances of capturing all 3 or 4 of those handshakes. And then you take those packets and you replay them back as is, you know, any replay attack. So I like Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is fun and it's easy. Bluetooth is super cool just because everybody nowadays does Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is so like 2010s. Bluetooth, and you know, everybody's got their flipper zeros and stuff. They're like, look, I copied this
I thought
hotel
I
card.
totally thought you were gonna grab a flipper zero and put it up to the camera. So I was like, cool. But I was just as cool, so that's
No.
funny. So you're
And
100%
I think
right.
the thing I like about the Uber Tools is that they are, I'm pretty sure they're not made anymore. Like they are not actively in like I don't know what
production.
you call it. They're not in
Yeah.
production. Yeah. So it's cool when you can get your hands on them because they're just sold by third parties and stuff now that are just kind of circulating. And so it's kind of like I have an ancient relic at this point. So, yeah, Wi-Fi is fun. Bluetooth's tops though.
Ah, that's so cool. And that's thanks for kind of giving that high level kind of breakdown. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. So with a few follow-ons. So free time, what do you like to do when you're not hacking?
Oh my gosh. So I have two young kids. And so as a young mother and a full-time, like every job I could possibly have under the sun, I really lost myself for a while there, especially with parenthood, because you kind of lose yourself and say, I'm a parent. Okay, but what else are you? So I finally just recently got into like, okay, I like these things. I do these things. So I like to do yoga. That's a lot of fun because it's peaceful. And I have a really just type A uptight personality and I get really stressed. And so it's nice to just wash that away and just say, that is not what I'm going to focus my attention on. So I like to do that. I am actually ironically considering streaming playing Neopets as a separate thing because they have made a comeback. They actually just had their 25-year anniversary. So Neopets went away for a while. They were like, again, an ancient relic, right? But they recently reestablished their gaming platform where you can actually do that. And so I'm like, what if I just relived my glory days and just,
I imagine you like bringing a box like it's time and like pulling out like an old
yeah,
keychain, like the old keychain Neopets. And like
yeah,
that's how the
yeah,
video starts, like, let's game. It's like
yeah. And so I have done streaming like Hack the Box and stuff, so I'm familiar with the streaming stuff. But I'm like, what if I just streamed like something that I wanted to do? All my day is cybersecurity. Why don't I just do something else,
Yep.
right? And then again, I have kids, so I just like to be outside. I moved to a place that's near a beach, so we like to go to the beach and just be near the water because it's cathartic and it's peaceful. But other than that, really just spending time with my family. And we lived on the East Coast for a while and now we're back in Texas. So
Nice.
that we're kind of making up lost time. And so that's really just like a big thing is just spending time with family. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really true.
Yeah.
Also, I just got a hot tub in the backyard because I begged my husband,
So
like was
jealous.
like, please, because we don't have a bathtub here. And I'm like
Oh.
standing up in the shower all the time. I'm like, please, can I please have the hot tub? He's like, okay, okay. So yeah, if it's not the beach, it's in the backyard. So
Nice. I'm in Arizona, so it's like once my pool gets like to the like May time frame, it's a giant hot tub, so it works out just as great. But
yeah.
no, that's awesome though. Any video games lately that have been burning the midnight oil or anything that you lately been getting into?
No. Actually, I've been getting back into reading. So when I was
Nice.
playing like Nintendo Switch, I love Pokemon because it's just like it's easy. It's easy on the brain. I don't have to think
Mm-hmm.
about it. I don't have to have like, super dexterity because I am like a klutz. When my husband had a PlayStation 2, we used to play Portal all the time.
Oh,
That was
nice.
so fun because I like the puzzles. So Portal was a big thing. Also GTA. That one's just like
It's a
I
classic.
I don't know.
That's a
So
classic.
it is, yeah. So we got rid of that PlayStation and all of those games kind of went with it. And my husband's now a PC gamer, and so I don't PC game. And so if I were to ever play video games now, it's just on the Switch and it's Pokemon. But recently I've gotten back into reading. I used to love like fantasy and sci-fi. And then I went through high school and people kind of were like, ew, that's really weird. But now it's like made a comeback and like people are cool for liking it. And I'm like, well, that's what I liked. And y'all made fun of me for liking Lord of the Rings. And y'all thought I was a nerd for liking Star Wars. But now who's cool? So that's kind of, I've been reading more again because
Nice.
it's cool to read.
Are you heading up to DEF CON this year in August?
I am. I
Awesome.
am. I'm super excited. I went to Black Hat last year. I will be back at Black Hat again this year, coming home and then turning back around and going to DEF CON because I'm actually bringing my husband because I'm
Oh,
like,
nice.
come immerse
Yeah.
yourself in the
One
hackerverse
of
and go to
us.
DEF CON.
One of us. It's a
Yeah. 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 I'm indoctrinating him.
I've
So
I've
yeah.
tried to pull my wife into that. Like here, like even like the little like cactus con we do, which is like a super small, like it was like a Friday, Saturday. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
like, you want to come and bring the kids like to the nerd convention? She's like, no, I'm gonna read. I'm like, okay, I love you. And it's just like
Yeah.
she's like, nah,
Yeah.
not my thing. And like my kids are too young to really care about. Like my daughter's just started like playing like Mario Kart, and like that's and same thing Pokemon. She likes Pokemon, and that's it.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
just like, but yeah, but no, awesome. Yeah, I asked because I'm hoping I should be at DEF CON this year. Don't know if I'll make it to Black Hat, but yeah, definitely want to try to connect and just say hi. And then also, if you guys are going to be out there too, across the channels and streams and LinkedIn's, and you catch us as well, say hi. But Bailey, thank you so much for coming on the channel. This was a blast. I had so much fun. As a thank you for letting me steal some time from you, I'm gonna reward you with an amazing, cool Ginger Hacker swag. So I'll send you the link to my little Shopify site, which by all means, if you want to come help the channel, that's how you can kind of help support it. Appreciate it. All funds go back and getting invested to fun, kind of cool new cyber things I'm trying to do with my channel. But Bailey, any last pieces of advice of maybe just someone trying to break into the career field for cybersecurity of what they should keep trying to do?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna get choked up saying it. Uh, don't let people tell you no. That's my biggest thing because I was told no so many times. And, I don't like to say, like, look at where I am now, but look at where I am now. Like, look at what I'm doing. And you can be that person if you want to be that person. If someone tells you no, be like, okay, thank you. I'm still going to be that person. I can't remember. There's a quote somewhere by someone and someone brought it up to me the other day and I was like, yeah, that's it. But it's like, if nobody's going to make you a seat at the table, you pull up your own chair, like get on that table, like stand up, shout from the table, like here I am, like make a ruckus, turn the table over. It doesn't matter. Like you just do your thing. People are going to tell you no. Set your expectations that way,
Yep.
but just do your own thing and just, say thank you for that criticism and then move on. And that's what I would say. Don't let people tell you that you can't do something.
Exactly. Nail on the head. So, Bailey, thank you so much. Hey, everyone, thanks so much for sticking around for this episode of Breaking into Cyber. We have a full fun packed year. Like I said, we have so many good guests coming on the channel. We'll have the state of Arizona CISO here in the next few weeks, MCC director, a few more red teamers, a few more blue teamers, a few IT help desk specialists, everyone across the spectrum just to help you break into cyber. So thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks.